Hey Robinson students, it's Mr. Burns. Going to record here the Unit 6 vocabulary for the executive branch. This is one that we'll be working through for a couple weeks, and we'll have a quiz on the day that this vocabulary assignment is due, so make sure you check Schoology, and in the classroom it will be posted. Same procedure as we've done in the past. Watch this flip video, and it'll provide you with some background on the words. Complete slides 2 to 5 after below, and a synonym, a sentence or an example, and then drag and drop the correct picture, and then make sure you submit. You will see a QR code posted here when you are working on this live. If you want to watch the video from your phone as you work on the vocab on your computer. All right, so it will look like this, and you'll see here's the words, and that's what it should look like. Okay. All right, so here's the presentation that I'm going to use. The first word is appoint, and appoint means to place in charge of or select. So the president will choose members of the cabinet and Supreme Court justices, other ambassadors, and diplomats, and they have to be approved by the Senate. Then we have commute is the second word, and not like driving commute, but commute is a check that the executive has over the judicial branch. They can shorten the sentence, the jail sentence or length of a crime for federal criminals. Usually it's white collar type crimes, not violent crimes for the most part. Pardon is a complete forgiveness. Excused excusing someone of a crime kind of gets wiped off their records. The most famous pardon, of course, being Gerald Ford's pardon of Richard Nixon when he resigned as the president. You can see the President Obama in this picture pardoning a turkey. It's a tradition on Thanksgiving. Veto is the fourth word, and that is when the executive refuses to sign a bill. So Congress passes a law and the president does not sign it, does not approve it. That is a check that the president has over Congress, and of course they can override the veto with a 2/3 vote. All right, the next word is bureaucracy, and this has a couple different words. Some people, you maybe have heard the phrase bureaucratic red tape, and what that basically means is that it's a complex system in many departments. But in our case, bureaucracy is the group of in the executive branch, and they kind of run the day-to-day operations of the government, and they are the ones that are in charge of kind of carrying out, executing laws, working in the different cabinet departments and agencies in our federal government. The next word is the cabinet, and think of a kitchen cabinet. You have President Obama here, and it shows all the different cabinet department symbols around his head, and it's basically the advisors who are specialized in one area, and they are the secretaries that lead each department. So the cabinet for the Department of Justice is the Attorney General, and the State Department is the Secretary of State, and the Homeland Security is the Secretary of Homeland Security, and there's a lineage as to who becomes president if the president can't serve after the vice president and the Speaker of the House and the president pro tempore of the Senate, and then it goes all the way down the list of the cabinet departments. An executive order is something that the president can issue. It's kind of a law that is passed. It's kind of a temporary law. If Congress won't act on something, the president can issue this order, and it kind of directs the executive branch, parts of the executive branch of the military to do something, to act right now as opposed to waiting for Congress to act. All right. The next word on the next slide is administer. So one of the things that the president does is kind of oversees and administers the federal bureaucracy, and this is kind of to manage the operations of administer. That's more of a verb. Administrator is a noun. Right. All right, diplomat, someone representing the United States in a foreign country, and this is something that the president nominates a diplomat to the executive branch, and you could be a diplomat that works as the head of a certain embassy and has relations with the country. Usually, these are people with experience working with that nation. All right, execute is to put a plan or course of action into effect. So think execute, think enforcing laws, executing laws, carrying out laws, taking laws passed by Congress, and figuring out what that's going to look like for the American people. And if you violate that law, what is going to be the punishment? And what is going to be the effect? A clerk, we're going to use this when we get to the state and local branch because there's going to be a clerk of the circuit court. This is just kind of someone who keeps records and does administrative duties and kind of keeps things organized. So the clerk of the circuit court we'll talk about later. We have a commissioner. Commissioners are leaders of an agency. Again, we're going to get to the leaders of an agency or department. Here's Roger Goodell. He's the commissioner of the NFL. Commissioners are kind of a department head. And we're going to see commissioner of revenue when we get to the state and local side of the executive branch. Sheriff, that's one of the positions that is elected by Virginia voters to the local government. The sheriff is the leader of the county police force. And it's kind of a political position, but it's also a law enforcement position. And they're in charge of keeping the peace. All right, last word is treasurer. And again, we're going to elect a treasurer to the Fairfax County government. And a treasurer is someone who is responsible for managing kind of the financial side of a government entity, a government organization. Yes, that's a treasurer. All right, so now what you got to do is just finish up this vocab and submit it by the date it is due. And if you have any questions, bring them to me. Send me a Schoology message or an email, and I will be glad to help out. Thank you for listening.